You're joining us today. I'm Shelley Fisher, your host for today. We're coming to you live from Torrance, California, with special return guest, Brilla Samay. A warm welcome back to Girls Night Live. Brilla.
Hi, how are you guys? Thank you so much, Shelley. I'm so happy to be here. Today, we're going to talk about the full moon in Capricorn. It is happening in real time, and this is kind of a first because I've done seminars where we're talking about the full moon, but not on the day of. But we are hours into the full moon, which is exciting because this will really resonate with you as you watch because it's happening again in real time. This is a seminar that is there's a precursor to this. In January, I came on and I did a presentation called Manifest the Best 2022 Astrologically, and it really set you up for the rest of the year. And so now we are 6 months in or into a checkpoint. And it would, if anybody's interested, I would really suggest that you check that presentation out because this one will make a lot more sense too. So we are within the full moon in Capricorn. Let me go ahead and move my screen so you could.
Brilla, we lost your voice.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I always like to start off with a few facts of the moon, just to get on the same plate of what she does for us in this world. So astrologers do pick up on 8 popular moon phases of that the moon goes through in astrology. She goes through many more phases, but there's 8 that we kind of really attune to. And she does manifest celestial energy. So the celestial energy manifests through the moon. It is almost like, I know we hear this a lot, but she is like a satellite for the rest of the solar system. And a lot of the cosmic rays come in through her and the sun too, but we feel it through her also. The moon is reflective of feminine energy. It is receptive and it receives versus the sun is very masculine in nature. So the moon is, again, more of our feminine side for everybody. And the moon does also channel higher consciousness, which often goes underestimated. I always like to say that when you tune yourself into the moon, you get all that information that I mentioned, that cosmic information, but it doesn't come in as directly as we would probably like. It does come in through our feelings, our intuition, our emotion. And so this is why, again, astrologers will always talk about your intuition and your feelings because there's a purpose for that. There's a reason we want you to be in tuned to it. So here I have the moon is a great way to build your intuition, connect to your higher self, and attune to the current cosmic alignments. That was just a little bit about what I just mentioned on tuning into her flow and her cycles to have some balance and also guidance towards the month. The moon does impact the whole collective, and we mostly see it through the waters on Earth. There's a lot of fun facts with the full moon, and one of them is that we know that the waters of the ocean or the tides get high. There's a lot of action when the moon is full. And so that would be within ourselves too. And like the number one thing I tell my private clients during a full moon is if you're feeling the anxiety of it, if you're feeling the pressure of it, drink lots of water. Go into the water, take a swim, take a bath. That will kind of calibrate us a little bit because again, the moon is the waters of the earth. And so we can pace ourselves through that element. So the moon does have consistent patterns. Again, she's very reliable, which is why we can base so much predictability of where we will be with where she is at. So every year she does 12 complete new moons in each sign, and she does 12 full moons in each sign too. And monthly we see a full cycle where she does a new moon in one sign and then a full moon in the opposing sign, which to me, I interpret that as creating karmic structure. So you can't get too ahead of yourself, because she won't allow you to get too ahead of yourself. She'll make sure that you do check-in points within the other side, the balance. So she naturally keeps us in balance with whatever we are doing in life. So even if we have a really great month, like naturally, cosmically, we have a really good month, during the full moon is probably a time where we're going to feel a little bit of the intensity of what it is that we're trying to do. So again, it's light and dark. There's always a balance to it all. I think I went back. Okay. So the full moon cycle illuminates a time of heightened emotions and potent creativity. So a little bit about the full moon. I always like to say that this is the time, this is a part of the month where we have too many ingredients. So what I also like to tell my private clients is on the new moon, you can set a goal to make a cheesecake, but you don't exactly know what you need to make the cheesecake. So you spend the next 2 weeks grocery shopping or just gathering all kinds of things because you don't know what you want to put into this cheesecake. So by the full moon, I always say that you have a grocery cart with too much in it. You have steak, you have carrots, and none of that do you need to make a cheesecake. So it is a time where we are very clear with ourselves of what is not working. And I do like to always say is it is possible that you went through a big journey to get that piece of steak. And so it becomes an emotional journey to let go of the things we don't need because it was probably hard for us to get. But it is the wisdom that the full moon does bring and illuminates to say, like, you're making a cheesecake and you just probably need cheese, flour, and not steak to do that. So let go of the stuff that does not serve you or add on to what it is that you're trying to do at the end of the day. So you will feel that uncomfortableness because usually during a full moon, you'll see that it's obvious what doesn't belong. It's really obvious. And because the moon is our emotions, we will have an emotional reaction to it. But it is also a sign of creativity. You have so much creative buzz around baking or cooking that it does light you up. It does show into your ability to make and create. And so maybe in the future you can make a big old steak dinner, but just not this one. So just to give you a little bit of visual, the sun and the moon during a full moon create an opposition to one another. So if this is Earth, us here, we have the full moon behind it and then the sun directly opposing it. So that is an opposition, or what we call in astrology an opposition. And so it creates tension and it creates emotional overwhelm because things are kind of far away from us. We're in a ball of feelings and then the sun is completely opposing that. And so our goals feel far away. And ultimately what we want to do feel a little bit distant. And that will create a little bit of tension and kind of not know where to balance yourself because you're in the middle. But it is a perfect time to make a reset and to balance yourself towards what is important to you, what are your values, and what you need to move forward. So there's a difference between a full moon and a super moon. And this is a super moon that we are in. So this little graphic shows a regular full moon. And this one here shows a super moon. So I kind of wanted to throw a little bit of that into this PowerPoint. It does get a little bit scientific and astrological to explain it, but I'll go ahead and read it. A supermoon is recognized when the moon orbits the Earth in an eclipsed way, which means at some point the moon's center will be closer or farther from Earth. When a full moon coincides or is near its perigee, that is when the moon is closest to Earth, a supermoon occurs, which is this big one here. But when the full moon is close to the apogee, which is the furthest point to Earth, a micro moon happens, which is really small, the tiniest moon. So this full moon in Capricorn is considered a supermoon. So she will be bigger, bolder, brighter today than your average normal, which does bring in bigger emotions for sure. So the moon is in Capricorn. So what do we have to learn about this specific moon cycle? So we have positive expressions and negative expressions to the moon. And the positive ones are we gain experience. We know that we have to be patient through what it is that we're doing because we're probably building something really large. Or Capricorn is about the empire. It's about our legacy. It's about what we show to the world. So there's a lot of nails and screws that are behind that. And sometimes we have people helping us with what we are building. And so that takes wisdom and it takes experience, humility and compassion to bring these things together. Some of the negative expressions is restrictive energy, something, there's a blockage towards what you're trying to do. Overall, general sadness can happen because again, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn and Saturn is time. And so when we are out of alignment to what our life path is or to what we should be doing, we are going to feel that clock tick because we essentially are wasting time, what it feels like. And so if those feelings come up, it's like a good marker of things that need to be fine-tuned for you in your personal life. You can also expect emotional delays. So kind of not knowing where people stand emotionally, those feelings being withheld from you. Capricorn is also parents and father and mother. And so it's possible that if there is friction there, that something may be boiling or something comes to the top of the surface where you just kind of go, I need to clear this up with mom and dad. I need to talk to them about ABC because it is bugging me a lot today. Or they're showing it a lot today. But again, that should serve to move forward, right? It should serve to clear some things for you in your personal life. Capricorn, the negative expressions are also limitations. And it will consider emotions more than others. So that to me is about withholding the emotion. It's a tendency that Capricorn has, like instead of sharing it, I'm just going to keep it to myself a little bit. A lot of this, I am a karmic astrologer. A lot of this is based on your own karma, right? Like what it is that you are building. If you are doing the hard work to build something, you're going to have a more positive experience during this full moon. If you are kind of dodging the things that are on your plate and the things that you need to heal and work through, then it's going to be a negative kind of experience because it's overwhelming and it packs onto itself. So some of the lessons with Capricorn is to move with caution, have law and discipline within yourself, and also healing the inner child. And I'm going to talk about healing the inner child, a little bit about that. A Capricorn does reference to a part of us that probably had too much responsibility growing up. So I always do reference to the inner child because it brings in the parents naturally. So it's kind of like if we do have a big goal, we do have a big responsibility, why is it our responsibility, right? Or why was it given to us? Sometimes that comes from something that was put onto us when we were younger. So a little bit of inner, that really is for the people who have moon in Capricorn. So if anybody here on the audience has the moon in Capricorn, it's time to do a little bit of inner child healing. It will help to move you forward. So like I mentioned earlier, this is the halfway point to the calendar year. And so we only have 6 months left to the year if we think about it. And it's a good time to assess our goals and what have we done? Go back to January, go back to the goals that were there, bring out your planner and say, what have I done? What have I not? Have I done everything? Have I accomplished everything? Should I make new goals or have I not done nothing? So it's the perfect time to see how you're going to wind down and spend the rest of the year. And also do a checkpoint within yourself of what is done and what is not. So very important time to plan. So I put in the chart of this full moon, which this is my happy place. This is what we use to get all the information that I share with you guys. These are all the planets. These are all the buddies that we are under and look up to. So if you were to see here, the moon, this full moon is conjunct Pluto, and Pluto at the moment is retrograde, meaning it's going backwards. So these two are meeting within forward and backward movement. So there is an element here to a transformation happening. And this is how we get more information as to what the purpose of this full moon is, because Pluto is breaking something down. Pluto is at the last degrees. It only has 2 degrees left in Capricorn, and then it moves on to Aquarius. So what it's doing now is pivotal. It's been in Capricorn for 15 years. And so we're like at the tail end of what was transformed. And Capricorn is structures. Capricorn is the legacy behind us. It's also our boss. It is what we respond to or answer to, parents also. So Pluto will move out of Capricorn in March of 2023. So we have some time before this transition happens. But again, it goes back to that transformation. And usually what this is having to let go of something that usually or normally kept you safe in the past. So this could be like a job, for example. You were at a certain job for so many years and it served as a sense of security and safety for you, but now you've outgrown it and it's time to move on to something else. So it is about having that discernment to know that it served its purpose and you're now building a new sense of security and safety for yourself. This is also happening with the North Node right here. You see it up here. The North Node is getting very close to Uranus. And by the end of this month, I think starting July 28th, the North Node is going to be exactly over Uranus. And that's going to be a strong illumination over humanity. And I really do feel that a lot of things are going to make sense at that point. And our awareness is going to expand. And this is a catalytic marker to new technologies coming in. I know we have so many astrologers talking about that, money changing and new inventions coming our way. And so it is a point like from here on after, I would expect to see some kind of news within that. But again, that comes in from the possibility of us growing as a species, as humanity. We're expanding. Our understanding is evolving, and I do connect the NASA images that just came out to this transit, because with us seeing new images of the cosmos, it kind of puts a lot more into perspective for us. Like we are seeing a visual of something that's always been there, but we've never been able to see before, or we're also seeing them more clearly. So it does a little bit of a mind check where we go, wow, we are so much bigger than we think. We are a part of an ecosystem that is far beyond what we can even wrap our mind behind. So I do think that these two transits are correlated. When I look at the chart, I can go on forever, but I think that's what I wanted to say. And let's see what I have here. This is a little bit of how to work with the full moon. So this full moon specifically, balance time. Capricorn and Saturn do rule over time, which is, if you know anybody that is a Capricorn or has a lot of Capricorn in their chart, they have age-related goals. By the time I'm 21, I want to do this. By the time I'm 30, 45, who knows, right? There is goals set by the age. And so during this time, we could feel a lot of pressure over where we are in life compared to our age. And so balancing time, you will feel a little bit of it could be a little bit of pressure, anxiety towards old stuff and new stuff. Old structures and the new things that you're trying to build, and it being just like a little bit of a mess right now. Like the goals or the timelines are intertwined, and so this time is about balancing and having discernment to know it's a little bit messy right now, but I can see what is old and I can see what is new, and that acts as a guiding post for you. Ultimately, you want to let go of the structure that no longer supports your future. So allowing yourself to let go of something, again, that you connected to security and safety. And that letting go only comes with, like, being able to do that as a human is bringing in faith and trust, right? And believing yourself. And I talk about this with my private clients all the time, because it's so easy for me to say, hey, let go of something that was so safe to you, but you must bring in that believing yourself. Is, have you ever let yourself down? No. So go with the trust of yourself, if anything, that you will always have your own back to get you where you need to be. And that does bring in a little bit of trust and faith in yourself, in the cosmos, in God, in whatever it is that brings you peace, to know that you're still growing. And then ultimately take responsibility. Capricorn is about responsibility. It's about making a plan. And so once you are clear with yourself, you do need to break out the planner and make a plan. Saturn is very practical. It is about having accountability towards all aspects of your life. And so once you have a good idea of what this is for you, you want to make a plan towards it. So I always go back to my cooking, because we all kind of cook. Make a new plan towards the cheesecake. Now that you know you don't need the steak and all the other stuff, what is the new plan? So now it's writing down the recipe. It is getting the oven set, getting all your utensils ready. Like, there's a new plan to do. And once you have that new plan, that's when the edge comes off and you will feel really, really relieved and good. And Saturn will be happy because there's a plan in place. So I kind of like to do what happens if we don't clear our path or work with the full moon energy, because you don't always have to do what an astrologer says. But ultimately, this energy still works through you. So kind of depending on your own personal chart, if you have something that you're deeply working through in the Capricorn energy, if you do nothing about it, the universe is kind of going to do it for you, and you kind of don't get to create. And that's when I feel a lot of the sadness comes in, because things are happening to you versus you creating the life that you desire. And that can bring in a little bit of sadness, because it's kind of just getting the leftover of stuff. And there's some people that navigate this and do well for themselves. And then there's other people who are conscious of it, but don't do much because they feel the work is a lot. But this is kind of just a reminder for everybody that you do have the ability to create and manifest, how they say, a greater life for yourself. And it does take a little bit of work, but the outcome of it is amazing. And there's fulfillment on the other side. And there's happiness, I think. Happiness, or just kind of you're doing something big, regardless if the whole world sees it or not. You're in control of your life. And so this is me saying thank you for listening. And I always like to share with you guys a little code if you would like to get any reading with me. You can find my website at brillasamay.com, and all my socials are under Brilla Samay. And of course, I'll take questions for those who have any.
Thank you, Brilla. So I'm going to drop in also in the chat for the audience the different ways you can connect with Brilla. But on top of that, I want to thank our live stream audience. Thank you for coming today. And if you want to join in the after party and the question and answer portion of the workshop, you still can go to girlsnightlive.com and register and jump on with the rest of us. But otherwise, I hope you join us again tomorrow at 4:00 with the amazing artist Alethea Brown. She's going to be teaching Coloring Our Voices. So for our social media audience, we're going to say goodbye to you now, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Have a great night.